The big story out of the NFL is what appeared to be an actual live tank involving the head coach in Philadelphia.
You know what? I'm sitting here thinking about this game this past weekend, and I know we're heading into 2021 season now, and everything is much to do about nothing. Even if we were to win yesterday, and I think it probably spared us a railroad of emotions dealing with this team, especially looking at what the Eagles did. Were they trying to tank? Were they not trying to tank type of situation? And will that be the ride in the way of the future? Will that be the ride in the way of the future, basically? Now, let's listen in to 105.3 The Fan, Brian Broadus and Jeff Cav. They talking about it, and I believe that he's right. The Eagles tried to tank that game, and the writing is on the wall. Let's listen in to what he has to say.
It was over. It was done. Howie, I think, was my understanding, Howie more involved with this than Jeffrey Lurie. Howie would be the one that said, listen, hey, we got to figure out how to protect our draft pick. You know, we're not going anywhere. Let's not get anybody hurt. You know, all these things you talk about when you're going into a season when you have nothing to play for, or the end of a season. So I applaud them, and everybody can complain about it, but you have to do what's right for your team. That's your responsibility, number one. And the Philadelphia Eagles did that.
And most other owners or GMs would feel like the best thing is to just try to win no matter what. That's what our product is, two teams striving for victory over everything else.
The owners understand when you sell them opportunity.
The owners understand. That is what they're saying. Now, I have no way to rebuttal on this or no way to get angry and upset at this because I think that that's their organization. And, of course, it was brought up to everybody's attention that maybe, just maybe, Mike McCarthy and staff and Jerry Jones and everybody else wanted to tank as well in his last game. They said, hey, make it a competitive enough, but now we got to look at it and say, don't win this game because we're not going to change everything else from here because we can see what the Eagles are doing about resting their players, and really they probably had the leg up on everything saying, okay, they're going to do this. Now, the only way that can change my mind of Mike McCarthy and of this quote-unquote, did we try to lose the game? Because it looks very competitive to me. It looks like we were trying to win, right? The only way would be the start of this 2021 season, right? If we see the same boneheaded decisions, if we see the same play calling, if we see everything being the exact same way, then I would say, nah, dog. Y'all wasn't trying to tank it. Y'all just what you are. Now, Mike McCarthy, I remember doing a video saying that, hey, I have my reservations on him. I was wrong about everything, especially as it relates to Mike McCarthy. And I have the right to change my opinion. But right now, I'm looking at everything from A to Z, and I'm looking at this thing like, okay, Mike McCarthy, I still have the world's largest reservations on you. And let me know in the comment box. Let me know if you guys have your reservations. Because my reservations is still strong. I believe that this team would have been better, even with all of the shortcomings and the pitfalls that we have, if we had an Urban Myers. I just think that Urban is more prepared. I think that he's a brilliant student of the game. I just think that he's heads and shoulders better than a Mike McCarthy. But we was clouded with our judgments because, come on, I know a lot of people would not admit it, but we were happy that we got rid of Jace and Garrett. We were.
Getting better players. They understand that. Because we like to talk about how this owner likes to market players. You know, hey, trust me, in Jacksonville, they just got him a marketing pick, with that first overall pick. That's something that they could take and say, oh, owners understand that. But, yeah, general managers are also responsible for the team. And they're like, hey, we can have injuries going into 2021, and we need to get the best drafting position we can. That's your responsibility.
I know. It makes total sense to me. Do you think the NFL's okay with it? The NBA said, hey, none of this load management stuff in national TV games. Everything for the NFL is a national TV game.
Now, the only way, and before they get to talking about this, the only way the NFL can ever stop this is due to lottery situation. I think I brought that to my dog Scott Walker and Big Game James about the lottery. Would it be possible if the NFL can do a lottery system? Because you guys already know this is a copycat league. And when they start looking at everything saying, okay, if I tank it out, if I lose it out on purpose, maybe, just maybe, we can get better draft picks. It can go that way, but it's all about culture building, in my opinion. That's what I look at it as. But that's a story of a different day. Let's see what they got to say about this.
Do you think they'll look at these in the future and say, what are you doing? You put Nate Sudfeld in. You weren't trying to win the game. You might have been trying to win draft picks or games in the future, but we can't be having this, kind of trickeration when it comes to this because it might catch on. Load management started with Kawhi Leonard quite a bit. Now every star does it just about, except LeBron, wants to play 45 minutes in all 82 games.
I don't think there's a way out of it. The only way out of this is an overhaul of how you end your year. You'd have to go NBA style and mess with how the draft works because right now losing is incentivized. That's just the way that it is. So at the end of a year, when I have a lost season, I have a real incentive to not win this game. And the Eagles had that. And so they played the way they played. I think they're smart for it. I think if you have a problem with it, you really don't have a problem with it. You have a problem with the system because the system says losing is a good idea for you.
All right, so who have a problem with it? Who have a problem with the fact that, hey, you had a chance, you have an opportunity to go to the playoff or what have you, but you have a team that's sitting there saying, okay, we're going to tank it, we're going to lose on purpose, we're going to bench our star players. Or with the inverse, you want a better draft pick and you say, okay, it's week 16 or is it week 15 or 14, you start benching your guys. You start resting your guys, right? Who have a problem with it? Let me know. Post it down in the comment box below. Let me know.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
For instance, the Giants last year in week 16, they tried their best. And Washington and the Giants were neck and neck for a really good draft pick. The Giants beat them in overtime. So because of that, they finished one game better than Washington. Giants should have lost that game because if they did, they'd have Chase Young instead of Andrew Thomas. So that's a tangible reason to do it for the Eagles.
But my point is exactly that, Jeff. It's beneficial to winning. Losing is incentivized, right?
Right.
So what do you do with that at a league level? Because if it's caught on with Philadelphia, now next year do other teams say, well, the Eagles did it. There was no punishment, and they got this player. We're going to do it. It started in '99 with Tim Duncan.
Well, teams are already doing it, though. Like, this is probably the most blatant in-game example I can think of. But even this one, they could sell it. Jalen Hurts played terrible. He's 7 of 20 for like 50 yards. He was awful.
So put Wentz back in. Yeah, you're not going to put Nate Sudfeld
Wentz was in this close.
When we see all of this and we look at it, we can say to ourselves, man, they tried to lose, and everybody knows it who saw the game or what have you. And, of course, Wentz is gone. They sullied the water with that. I don't know if you can ever make that back right. I don't know. You can't do it. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, basically. So it's crazy. I guess it's a loser's mentality when you do that. But we have figured this out. Time will only tell of whether or not they did the right decision, the best decision based upon and predicated upon how they look next year and the following years and what all can transpire from there. That's just the reality of it, Cowboy Nation, regardless of it. Let me know of your thoughts. Let me know of your opinions. Wonderful segment by 105.3 The Fan, Jeff Kavanaugh, as well as Brian Broadus and everybody that's there. I really appreciate you all. Let me know. Let me know. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Let's go.
The big story out of the NFL is what appeared to be an actual live tank involving the head coach in Philadelphia. Brian Broaddus, you worked for Jeffrey Lurie. We've covered Howie Roseman say tanking's bad, and we never want to embrace that. I think the Eagles did exactly that. What do you say?
No, they absolutely did, but it's so funny. Last week, when on the postgame show, I just kept telling the fans, the Cowboy fans, that they saying, they're going to play hard. They're going to play hard. I'm like, no, they're not. They're not. This was a playoff game for Philadelphia. You took their will to compete. When you beat them, that was it for them. It was over. It was done.
Do you think they'll look at these in the future and say, what are you doing? You put Nate Sudfeld in. You weren't trying to win the game. You might have been trying to win draft picks or games in the future, but we can't be having this, kind of trickeration when it comes to this, because it might catch on.
That's when Philadelphia announced they didn't want to win the game, is when the inactives were announced. It was Fletcher Cox. It was basically their entire defense.
They did that on Wednesday. They told you who all wasn't going to play. They listed like 9 guys, and 7 of them were out. 2 of them were questionable. They told you what they were going to do.
That's the way I want my team doing things until the league says you can't put Nate Sudfeld in. That's a slap in competitive football's face.
The league is okay with it because they want their teams to get better. That's the whole idea. If you are a bad team all year, they want you to get better. It makes the league more competitive, and there'll always be teams that go up and down.